Welcome to this week's Cattle Call. I'm Susan Littlefield of the Rural Radio Network. We just happen to be on location at the Nebraska Cattlemen's annual meeting and convention. Now, having said that, maybe not the best place to be when we see the markets like we've seen on a Wednesday trade when we're doing this program. And I always joke that sometimes I feel like I need to have the theme song from Dirty Harry's The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And unfortunately, the ugly is what we're dealing with today. We're going to dive into what is going on with this market, even though we really might not have a clue as to what's going on within this trade. Definitely emotion is a big part of it. As you can see, Brad Kooima is joining us with Kooima Kooima Varilek out of Sioux Center, Iowa. So an emotional trade, it's probably the best way to describe what we see in this cattle market today.
Very much so, Susan. I guess thank you for having me on. I feel like here's 50 cents, go play out in the middle of the freeway, right? You talked about emotion, but I did like what you also said, because I'd like to be the first to tell anybody that's listening to this that if they think that Brad Kooima's got a clue of what the market does or why it does it on a daily basis, I'm going to tell you, you're sadly mistaken. This is a market here for me that I don't understand either. Being having a bit of a base in fundamentals. Do I think that the fundamentals today are much different than they were, say, 4 weeks ago, when the cash market was probably $15 to $18 a hundred higher? Are we suddenly killing a lot more cattle? No. So I'll admit I don't understand. But again, sometimes the market resembles a flock of starlings, where everybody decides they want out the same door at the same time, and often, unfortunately, that's influenced largely by money or lack thereof. So any long speculator here is big time behind, upside down, writing checks, and either he has decided that he doesn't want to write any checks, or even sometimes, in some cases, the margin departments are liquidating it for him. So certainly part of the story there. The one thing I'd say on the fundamental thing is we lost our leverage, okay? And we went through a long time here, starting already with a very, very difficult winter. Remember, cattle didn't perform. They were way away. Then we went into summer. We liked the price, and then it was hot. We were further incentivized by, lose a $2,600 steer to heat. You'll want to sell cattle. And then the futures market was trading at a discount, and we were making big money. And so, we rolled along nice and current up until just a little while ago, which I take as a bit of a comfort. This isn't like, in my view, like 2015, even though the weights are big. I get it. I know what the weights are. But then we messed around for a year backing up cattle. I mean, now what is it, 4 weeks, 6 weeks or something like that? And I think the big reason that we've got this increase in cattle weights is because of the weather. The cattle have not had a bad day. We haven't had any winter hardly to speak of, a dry fall. And so we'll see. Typically, the seasonality of the market is such that this time of the year, it would be normal to see the market start to improve. Would also be normal to see the weights start to decline right here. And I think some of that is clearly usually sponsored by the weather. So we'll see. And I watch the weather too, just like you guys do. 6 to 10 day looks very, very mild yet, doesn't it? I guess I'm not surprised the market sold off some. Do I think that we should have gone down $35? No way.
So are we seeing, you talk about the weights, obviously that's a concern. So with the way the current market is at, is this a push? Do we got to get these guys out of the feedlots, or are we just going to hold them, try to keep the weights in check, and keep our fingers crossed for a better day?
You have identified the main issue here as an analyst. I think we've talked about this a couple of weeks in a row. My fear is that with cheaper feed and high break evens, we all know what those yearlings cost. Most of them break evens are in the trees. What is the producer going to do there? Fight the market, overstay. My advice would be no, don't do it. Don't fall into that trap. Sell them. Buy something that's more efficient. Some of these feeder cattle are getting priced a little cheaper, not as much as one would think. But I would encourage you to stay current. And I don't know. Not everybody's inclined this way. I'm a futures guy, right? So if I'm going to get bid, for instance, 171 today, like I was, and I would rather own futures at $7.50 under, right? I mean, Feb cattle are 163.55. Trade the cash, get rid of the cash cattle, and if you want, it's not for everybody. I get it, but you can replace that inventory more than just buying big cattle. So one could consider that too. I guess the weight thing is something that I'm going to be super dialed into here, and I'm hoping that we see a couple of weeks from now we can talk about that the weights have crested maybe and coming back down in line a little bit.
So how does this compare to 2015?
Unfortunately, there's a lot of similarities. You were coming off of 2014, which had been the bull market of our career up until this last one. We were going into numbers where you felt like really the tighter numbers were still coming because you were starting to feel the effects of, hadn't really saw the effects yet of heifer retention. We've talked about that a lot here on your show. And then the pit closed in 2015. Okay. And the market character to a lot of our thinking, at least mine, seemed to suddenly change. And we had a lot of days like today where the market, yesterday was a nice update. February cattle led the way higher. Today we opened a little higher. Everybody, okay, well, maybe we're done. And then all of a sudden we go from 70 higher to 200 lower, and then it pauses and you're 400 lower. And the selling just come in waves. Back then, a lot of us really did a lot of chirping about we got to slow down these algos, we got to slow down these HFTs, these traders that don't take positions home overnight. They just flood the market, get out, flood the market, get out. I don't know what went on today because there's no transparency anymore because there's no pit, but that reminded me a lot of the way we market acted for a while there in 2015.
So as we get ready to wrap this up, how is the cleanup deals looking? South better than the North, or is the North doing okay at this point?
Today, the South did a better job. There was deep and a lot of cleanup trade at 171 there that I'm told. Everybody feels pretty comfortable with their shoulders got moved. Guys in the North, not so much. And hey, I'm a North guy. Choice Select spreads $32. $32. Guy in Texas got 64% choice in prime cattle. We've got 90% choice in prime. We're going to take the same price. You can see why there was a little resistance this morning for a while. Going, seriously, we can't even get 172 if the South has got 71 for what they're selling. I don't know. We do not have big show lists here. That part of it to me doesn't feel like it does sometimes when we're backlogged, where you just tick through the list of, well, so and so's got big ones, so and so's got big. Right? That's not the case here. The cattle have performed well because of weather. Let's get current. Let's get these cattle gone, and let's hope that maybe as we, kick into the next holiday trade with maybe a little bit of weather on the market, but get up and out of here. You're testing very, very long-term, major monthly and weekly support here, and we need to catch here. I guess I feel like we will. Today was a tough day to be very confident.
Well, here's the hopes of better days just around the corner, and not days with an apostrophe S away.
Yeah, I hope so. I met it's a real party down there with the Nebraska cattlemen there. Some great people there. A lot of my good friends are there. Say hello to a couple of them for me, would you please?
I will do so. We just need to get you here to be a part of our convention. What's the best way for folks to get a hold of you, Brad?
Well, the website is kind of the new thing, right? KKB Trading, kkbtrading.com, or we still have a phone number, 712-722-0023.
All right, that has been this week's Cattle Call. As we always remind you, commodity futures and options do involve a substantial risk of loss not suitable to all investors. And that's this week's Cattle Call here on the Rural Radio Network.